Okay, so this is in your foldable. Hopefully you still have your foldable. If you lost it, I have some extra copies, but it's what we used last week. We're doing the last section of it today. We did dividing yesterday. We did dividing decimals by whole numbers, but this is dividing decimals by decimals. So bumping up a little bit harder. I don't have a picture, like a slide with a picture on it, but that's okay because I can type on here and you'll just follow along as I type. So step 1 is that you place the decimal in the dividend. Decimal in the dividend. Okay. Step 2, whenever you're dividing decimals by decimals, is that if there's a decimal as the divisor, so the dividend is what's inside. The divisor is what's on the outside. So if there is a decimal in the divisor, move it to make it a whole number, which is kind of long, so hang on. Struggling here. If there's a decimal as the divisor, move it to make. Sorry, I can't type. So if there's a decimal as the divisor, move it to make it a whole number, which will make sense once we start. Step 3. Step 3 is that whatever you do to the outside, you have to do to the inside. So, as I said, divisor is this 9. The dividend is what's inside the doghouse. So, if I have to move a decimal on the divisor, I have to move it in the dividend. So, step 3, whatever you do outside, do the same to the inside. And all I'm talking about there is moving the decimal. And last, step 4 is just like we did yesterday. After you cross over your decimal when you're dividing, you have to quickly put it in the top in your answer. So you have to move the decimal straight up to, and I spelled straight wrong. And quotient is a fancy word for your answer. So you have to move the decimal straight up to your quotient or your answer. Okay. So 9 going into 20.7. Let's see if I can write. So 9 does not go into 2. This is a whole number. So this is literally the same thing we did yesterday. Try it on your own if you want to. If you're still stuck, then pay attention. 9 doesn't go into 2, but it can go into 20, not evenly. But if you multiply 9 by 2, you get 18. Okay, subtract. 20 minus 18 is 2. Put your decimal in your answer. Drop down your 7. And 9 does go into 27 evenly. It goes in there 3 times. And then 27 minus 27 would give you 0. So let me erase that so that I have room. Make sure you have that copy down, 2.3, show your work. Okay. So we have 0.3 go, or 22.68 divided by 0.3. Now, in all of our other examples, we have not had a decimal on the outside of our doghouse. We have not experienced how to do that yet, but that's what these notes are over. So it says step 1, place a decimal in the dividend. Okay, well that's already there. So step 2, if there is a decimal in the divisor, move it to make a whole number. Okay, 0.3. How many spaces would I have to move that to make it a whole number? Only one. If I move it directly right there, I now have 3. But since I moved it once to the right on the outside, I have to do the same to the inside, which is step 3. So instead of my decimal being between that 2 and the 6, it goes over 1, and it's now between the 6 and the 8. So I now have the whole number 3 going into 22 6.8. So again, I moved my decimal one place over to make it a whole number of 3, so I have to move my decimal one place over to make it 226.8. And then you do the exact same thing as what you did yesterday. Divide. 3 doesn't go into 2, so you put an X if you want to. I saw kids doing that yesterday. It sometimes helps. 3 can go into 22, not evenly, but if you multiply 3 by 7, it'll give you 21, which is close enough. And so we subtract. 22 minus 21 leaves you with 1. Drop this guy down, so now you have 16. 3 doesn't evenly go into 16, but it will go into 15. So if you multiply it by 5, it gives you 15. Okay, subtract. Again, I'm left only with 1. Drop this guy all the way down. Okay, make sure that you line up your decimal and move it straight to the top. 18. 3 into 18. 3 evenly goes into 18. So after I figure out what that is, I am done because there are no more numbers. 3 goes into 18 6 times. So 75.6 would be my final answer. After you completely finish with these notes, you'll glue, make sure all your foldable is filled out. If you lost it, you'll have to copy someone else's or copy mine. It does no good to have an empty foldable in your notebook. But if you fold it, then you should see that the back side can be completely glued flat into your notebook. If you're stuck on how to do that, you can ask. But after you glue it in your notebook, you are not to be playing games, and you are not to just be excused from the rest of the class period. You need to do the whiteboard practice with us so that you can ace the the quiz that we have on Friday. So again, after you completely finish this, glue the notes into your notebook, put your notebook away, and then wait for the rest of the class to move on to the whiteboard activity.